Now dig this, twice in one night. This next young man I discovered a number of years ago, another adopted son of mine. I evoked the Hunkayapi, Hunkayaapi. Bloodkin unequivocally could not participate. And what basically happened with the Plains Indians, specifically the Lakota, they got tired of thumping on each other and said, you know, this is nonsense. It's a paraphrase. Why don't we look after each other to the days we expire? And that's how that evolved. And as I said, bloodkin could not participate in it. So that is one of my children. Another one who's coming up, Michael Rose, is the oldest in the room. His soul has got to be several thousand years old. And his eloquence is remarkable. Michael, you ready to dazzle us? Michael Rose. Stay to the right. Yep, you see yourself. So if you keep this down, it won't block your face. It's loud enough. You look great, man.
Oh, yeah.
So you took the hair off your head and put it on your face?
That's exactly right. This is glued. All right.
I still recognize you.
We
all do.
I thought I'd try to read a poem by, this is actually by one of my students. It's by a 7th grader. But I think that she's pretty cool. She's a pretty cool kid. She called this The Different Behaviors. So here it goes. The Silent. So she titles each section based off of certain types of people. Silent, the powerful. She writes this poem. It's called The Different Behaviors. The Silent. Have you ever wondered how it feels to be silent? Have you ever spoken to someone expecting to hear them reply back, only to get a silent stare? We all have a moment in our lives when we become silent and pause for a second to think, to process, to react. That is when we build the silent spirit. The silent spirit is the spirit who gives his answer through silence. The silent spirit thinks, it processes, it reacts, but sometimes it withholds its power. Sometimes we all are yearning to talk, to share our voice, only to fall silent, only to hold our peace. Sometimes we fall silent due to shock, amazements, or reactions. We all have the power of silence, but when we use it, it is what makes it significant. The powerful. The powerful spirit is like a lion yearning to be set free. We all contain that lion in us. We just have to think of the right time to release it. Power is something that is given to us, or we earn it. Power is so dangerous if fallen into the wrong hands, can be used as a weapon against an enemy. Power has been used in many right ways, but power has also been used in many wrong ways. Yes, power can be used in many ways, through words, writing, speech, actions, but how do we use power for good and to help our world? We can use the power of poetry to appeal or condemn. We could use the power of words to voice out an opinion. We can use the power of influence, persuasion to support a cause, and there are many more ways. But there's a question. How are you going to use your power? The talented. We all have a talent in us. Each talent belongs to a unique person. Some use their talent to help people, others use their talent to hurt others. But it is up to us to know what our talent is and to use it to help others. Many people have used their talents to start a cause, to give hope, to save, to support. We all have a mission to take part and help this world with the talent we have. Some see their talent as useless, others say their talent is precious. Family, teachers, friends, all these people help us build or find our talent. For time waits for no man. So if you ever get the chance to use your talent, I say to use it to help this world become a better place, starting from now. The expecting. Sometimes we all are expecting something to happen or someone to show up. Sometimes we have high expectations and low expectations. Sometimes our expectations are far beyond what we can do. Expectations put pressure on us, people, family, friends. Sometimes expectations are about something we want, like a kid asking for a bicycle or an animal asking for love from their owner. Sometimes expectations are about something we must do, like a mom expecting her kids to do the dishes by the time she comes home. Or expectations are a way of hoping for a miracle, like a man expecting to get the job because he has the experience. It is not all expectations that can be met. Sometimes expectations teach us a thing or two about not always getting what we want. The fantasizing. As a young kid imagines herself in space, as an astronaut or as a doctor or singer or something else altogether, that is fantasy. Fantasies are a want or a wish. Fantasy is always, quote, the activity of imagining things, especially things that are impossible or improbable. Definition from Google. But I say fantasies are not impossible, but just challenging, for fantasy is the seed of an idea. Some have made their fantasy come true, and others have just imagined and forgotten. Sometimes fantasy can be shattered with reality. Some people's fantasy has been called madness, craziness, but these fantasies build into ideas that shape this world. So I say we shouldn't push out fantasies but welcome them, because this way the world will develop into a better place for many years to come and for future generations. The wise. Wise. What comes to mind? Wisdom, smartness, greatness. But the question is, how is that wisdom built? Wisdom is built through experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Experience is when you learn from your mistakes. Knowledge is when you acquire information, skills, and education through experience. Good judgment is when you think before you act. But all comes to wisdom. Some act like they know everything, but that is not wisdom. Some don't like feedback from people. Some give up once they hit the wall. All this relates to fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is when you don't learn from your mistakes, don't like feedback, and don't stand up when you get hit. Growth mindset is the opposite of fixed mindset. But how is wisdom used in our daily lives? Wisdom is used during work. Example, when you make a mistake and your boss or coworker says, "I think you should do it this way," or "I think it's supposed to be that way." Wisdom is used during school. Example, when you get a question wrong, you can learn from your mistake. The silent, the powerful, the talented, the expecting, the fantasizing, and the wise. There is the silent, the powerful, the talented, the expecting, the fantasizing, and the wise. There is the silent, the powerful, the talented, the expecting, the fantasizing, and the wise. But the mind of the wise, who is the mind of the wise? The wise. A wise person treats others as they want to be treated, because they know it will help them, not hurt them. The wise person is who we always go to when we need solid advice. Wise people are who we turn to and who we trust in times of need.
How old was this child? 12?
Athena Acephora.
How old? 12?
She's 12 years old or so, yes.
I don't know for days. There's an old soul.
We just finished that this afternoon. She's got to read it on Monday. In front of a whole class.
You realize that's an exceptional soul you have.
I told her today that, this is for the camera also, I told her today that she's a philosopher. a lover of wisdom, and I broke down the roots and everything for her.
No, that's
All right.
glory.
All right, I'll try to read something a little shorter, I suppose, since that was kind of long.
This cheats here, though.
All right, let me go with this. Oh, you know what I'll do? I know what
God, it's remarkable for her.
I'll do. She's a wise one.
Yes, she is.
Okay. Let's go with this. I wrote this. I haven't been writing lately, to be honest with everyone, but I did write this afternoon. So let's see how it goes. It's probably some edits. I might make it like a bit longer too, but no title. Sometimes the world goes silent for a while. The insects now speak their insect speak and are comfortable with the human ear pressed to the earth and listening. The mantis raises his head and arms, the ant his chin and R-shaped antennae. The fly waits to be caught, the mouse no longer afraid of you but of the leafy wood. The wife calls to a calm demeanor and a stable, loving climb. Sometimes the world goes silent for a while. Yes, sometimes the world goes silent for a while. But then the light beams down on her eyes and her hair spirals wind in the twine of the light. And there is light, and there is light. And her shoulders still in the frame of brown ropes that curve and twist in the spring of the light. And there is light, and there is light. A glow of dreams rises in the heart, ruffles the fin of the clouds. The steamy inner earth rises, upwards, upwards in the turning turbine might. Beyond a wild stupor I see. I feel for the yellow-orange tea. Its dark center left cold for hours and disposed. See, I feel again the wooden grain of the guitar, the gleaming neck and speckled hide, its tree flesh, its whorls and lines. Where has silence gone? Where are the bells and timbrels of the aunts? In stillness I do not hear the humming of the world. The gears do not turn in mechanical circles, but in spiraling hips. For the circles of the world moved then in circles, and then those circles too moved. I was thinking of Rothke at the end, so I stole his line. This is called On Emptiness. On emptiness. Emptiness is rhapsodic. It is like a symphony. It is fantasy. Do you remember, dear flower, dear love, first at the dawn of the ocean's age, there in the green world soaring? Flying then, spray at our cheeks and without time, and with each eyes upon the other, our fish wings beaten, shaken by the wind, our hearts as tall as the mountains. There, my love, you feel free. In the mountains there, in the winter, in the mountains. In the mountains flying southerly, rising free. The only song I wish to sell to you is that of some whirling tornado. Be gone, you, darling, my darling, you who never was and who is not. I. The rhapsody neither toys with time, nor is it itself one with time. This time, too, time of the sweet fool, is a myth for the vagabond mind. Gold glitter jute pockets turned out on street corners in the 18th or 19th centuries. Sunny day, just standing. I sing songs not for you, but for the girl of light, breathing like a giant lathe, making rain beyond the Starnbergasse. She sounds her flower eyes like running water. She cackles like a sun and glows at night in sweetest mischief. is called the jittery spirit. Also partly inspired by my life. Just a Plath fan. The jittery spirit. Jittery spirit flies through the wild, dances, no, scampers and grows, quiet, mice-like, bug-like, quiet-like. 7 years ago, here a poem was written. Yes, then I knew not the arrogance of this note, and knew not gravity's shape. And now I remember Plath's Nancy shade, made of human skin. I remember my wife, light as a purple cloud, sliding, shifting, speaking with her yellow, glimmering poise, her moonlight glide, and her smile and musical whim. She asked, was that not an appropriation? A cheap literary trick? Plath and her Nazi lampshade. Today, let us ask, was it? If we must, let us billow and blow and bluster and blink blindly. What is a cheap trick after all? Then we indeed did wonder. Still I am wondering. Here I made a metaphor and a hyperbole of 50,000 deaths. Do we allow it? Do we allow the light to escape from behind the rims of our skin or the field of death? Is life so sacred that we must stop? I know that far out from the edge of the solar system we can crouch forward with a telescope and look down upon this, its word twinkling in blue, and know that it glows and speaks. As always, how deep is the writer's glance? For it is not right to live in silence, to forget sacredness, to forget history, to speak with hollow jest. What is it you permit? Do you permit the telescope holder to look from a light year or 2 or 3 or 4 away? And do you permit he speak, or may he joke or feel an unrelated pain? What is it you permit? What is it you will permit? Will you permit a thought? Do you have courage to permit death its very self? Do we have courage to permit tomorrow? Let us stifle the idle piper now with fury and with tear, for he may be wrong. Yes, indeed, he may be wrong. This is called The Nature of the Human Being. It changed a lot over the course of writing it. It's not very complicated of a poem, but it is a commentary on the human being. The nature of the human being. Therein, under the skin, lies the nature of this, the holy human being. The mountain and crust must be shook, the lava shown and mantle lit. Therein, under the skin, lies the nature of this, the only human being. In our bodily veins, by the sinew and bone, earth mist blowing in. Therein, under the skin, lies the nature of this, the godly human being. The fire is lit. This fire is a flame. This foot, it stamps out all other flames. Herein, under the skin, lies the nature of this, the fully human being. Fool. Therein, under the skin, lies the nature of this, the golden human being. The fire is lit, this fire is a flame, and this foot, it stamps out all other flames. Fool. Herein, under the skin, lies the nature of this, the skinless human being. In our bodily veins, by the sinew and bone, earth's mists blow in again. Fool. Herein, under the skin, lies the nature of the only holy human being. The mountain and crust must be shook, and the lava shown, the mantle lit. Fool. Herein, under the skin, lies the nature of the raceless human being. Fool. Herein, under the skin, lies the nature of the only holy human being. Okay. This is, I wrote this for a student of mine whose mother died when he was, I think, 10 or 11. So I wrote this for him one day. It's for Javian Martinez. Who are you, Mother Moon? I remember when I was the tide's sweet woman, crawling up and down the beach at dusk. It was late that day, and you were worried, and you loved me. Mother, you called to me with your blue moonlight. You whispered through the beach and air. You were soft and beautiful then. Sun, you said, my little tide, my wonderful ocean. The day has been long, and the moon and the tide must sleep. Yes, this is what you said. And it is these words and their heart that crumbled from your glowing yellow lips that I have not and that I will not forget. Mother, you are still the moon calling from that beach, and I am glad that you are a kindness I can see each evening. For you, yes, you, my mother, you are the moon, you are the moon, you are the moon. I was teaching metaphor at the time. It got the job done. Okay. I'll read this. This is a little longer, but I just happen to like this poem. Well, it's not too long. Okay. This is called Dissemination or On Courage. Rims of a leaf unfold before me. Alas, these limits have stood for far too long. I wish to curl into the pure air, to brown in fall, to return now to my bud like a light returning to the hand of the dark. Ambrosia veins, rusting edges, chipping skin. If my fingers might venture to the palm of my roots, I might then be unafraid. But I know not death at fall. 2, I know not the courage of life during the summer, when the timbers of spring have been surpassed and the hope of growth is so no longer. I pine and pause. In dream, I postpone the angst of being less than others wish that I be. I am not the lavender song you wished or hoped for. I am the lavender weed who peeks his head into your lawn in early spring, the little flower my father loves and my small brother smells. Can I not be myself, I ask, and keep still all that I have? Must my heart flood out to the streets with the wash? Must I seize the world by the horns? I suffer long my eyes to the crescent of the moon in that long week for which it elapses. I want for what the Vajrayana monk does, solitude, peace. But is not the Mahayana path the greater, wanting its courage and the illusions of life? Truth is, all this talk leads me far from the root. The root is deep like the core of the earth, molten like the logic of truth, or the pining of the human heart. With courage, there sleeps soft the wrinkled cheek of fear. Yet for neither courage nor fear might there not perhaps sleep a lever wider than the little world? A straight eye, thinks I, might see the lever here in the vaults of the galactic tower. What madness drinks from the moans of a billion soft-treading feet? What kingliness stirs in the ancient air as the trees do? I hear him atop the water, telling the panic of a rocking ship to calm and the storm to cease. What lever is this that tames the riddle? What riddle is this that sails like driftwood? A river flows wildly, a sea moans gayfully, insects flee to the rocks and the sweet-smelling earth. The riddle catches onto a rock near the bank. Why did the insects flock? Why do the riddles catch? Neither man nor God can suspend above water with courage or fear there at the bells of his heart. There can be no bells. There, by rocking sea, there can be only silence. Here, beside the bells, the Shakyamuni dances without a sound in his heart. He listens out not to the songs of the mind, but the symphonies of the earth. The lavender bush and the purple weed grow upon the earth in silence. Neither postpones. The chiming bells are as sweet as the little child, with his fragrant flower beside my gentle aging father. There I find not courage, but a weightless and beautiful lever. This is called, does one hear an apocalyptic poem? Apocalyptic poem, here we go. The end of the world. Here where the sun burns like the torch end of a stake, one sees the electricity flicker in layers of lights out there, leery all across the winter world. What happened here? On the orb of Moses' staff, where the rocks squirm and the Nile tears near, where the locust's eyes beam, there, within the worldly human stare. The sun has not been off for long now, 6 minutes, yet very soon the golden soil will sizzle out like a filament or ballast, swiftly and very fast. In 2 minutes, all of man will learn the world is setting. Ocean light will recede from our wet and peering shores and maroon the roots, swiftly weary the dust. The light of the last living mind will freeze and breathe its final draw in the infinite lapping of the heavenly, tall, and finite darkness, come out to us like some boogeyman from behind a wall. What madness is this but a fear that we are already there, our teary leaders singing, "Hear, hear," upon the heels of the nuclear dust and the environmental strokes high on the midnight clocks at the tips of our hesitating morals and maleficent indecisions. There, beneath the bureaucracy of our industrial systems, them systems meant to set us all straight, them engines again stalling before setting us all aright. What mirror is this but a near memory drifting to us by a lakeside armchair from a time long before our technological metering, before Gabriel, before Moses, before Bakar, before light. This is a poem about Imagism. So Imagism has 3 tenets. First is the direct treatment of the thing, whether subjective or objective. Second is to use absolutely no word that does not contribute to presentation. And thirdly, as set down by Ezra Pound, as regarding rhythm, to compose in the sequence of a musical phrase, not in the sequence of a metronome. Imagism. So this is a bit of a challenge to Imagism, but probably not a very serious philosophical one. But it's investigating the notion of describing the subjective one and challenging this idea of this idea of being able to talk about it properly. So, Imagism. Orange signs burn around me like orange suns, and the writer begins to ask, where is the object of this poem truly? This, the writer in his mousy eloquence, squeaks his salty fingertips on the keyboard like soppy soles of shoes. The squeaks speak, the speaks seek. Where can the subject go at all, really? What object is there to incarcerate? What burning sun is there to hold tall upon the table, to trap in the ministries of one's perception? Subtract from the division symbols of quaking nervousness and thundering, clacking ball and socket. Flickering, you can tell I wrote these 2 poems nearby each other. Flickering leery lights and flooding gutters of this dreary, cruelest month stir like an impossible friend on the roadway of the subject? Where is that weary object at all in the midst of all this, but between the brouhaha like bugs on leaves in a forest? So, I was definitely digging the Leary Lights bit, I could tell. I don't think I like this poem, but my older brother seems fond of it, so I will read it. It's called Phoniness. To be a phony is to live but one of the infamous and worst fates. Yet to think, the person chooses this with very soft deceptions rooted in the marrow of panic. Yet what do I know? Not of this, do I mean, but what of anything at all? In all of existence, what do I know? I might know that I am not a phony, perhaps most of the time, that I am doing well, surely, or perhaps most of the time, but do not the sages tell us, let us start to think that each of us is faking what we both do and do not know, and without convincing a single soul? No fools exist, I now fastidiously think, except for those who may think fools might think fastidiously. I'm considering this moment, how can I know what a fool is unless I once was one myself? You as well. But the destiny of the fool, is it not worse even still? For do we not each of us remain the fool? For is not the cloak of you, my listener, hide within, just the child that you once were, having not yet gone away? This is foolish enough to say. Certainly I do not believe it. Definitely I do not know it. I feel a deep lying insecurity rising herein, though, quick, like a smoke increasing inside the flue of a furnace. I do know that I feel the rise. I know it, I suppose, even if I am being skeptical, because it doesn't have any meaning, a feeling. It is not a word or thought. Rather, it is just a feeling. Perhaps I just want publicized foolery, to state how I am, a feeling person, with a fearful little boy sleeping in the cellar asking to be left be, not wanting to drift into eternity. Well, perhaps the fool is the one who repeats that the child should go on and live forever. The sage knows the listener, knows how that child thrives and thrives and thrives. For few want to really go on and die. Perhaps the sage wants to pass neither rashly nor suicidally, as might be presumed, but merely willingly and happily. The sage perhaps walks with the only honest willingness to die that is, and hence the only honest lightheartedness with which to carry on to live. For is this not so? Few want to really go on and die. Indeed, very few really want to go on and to die. This is called At Temple. I was at a Hindu, I think it was just like a standard Hindu mass, I'll call it, as I don't attend temple often. And it also wasn't at a temple. It was at like a back alley, literally a back alley room. I had trouble finding it. There was like falling ladders and there was like junk in the alley, and then I entered the building and then I had to like travel down a corridor, and then there was a tiny little room and there was a ton of people in it, and you would never have thought it, but that's where church is for them. So at temple.
The lotus moment, yes.
The trunk of Ganesh is soft like the spiraling knot of a tree. Gently, feelings dip from his eyes like vines. A soft knowledge sifts in the offering bowl, settles into pages of prayer books where smoke sips. Ganesh gives this light to me. Pale blue devas, delicate like porcelain, break the stillness of their faking. One grants me smiles and a wink. This is a magic few can see, but I have. The Lord Shiva, with his million limbs and faces, casts notice upon me. You fool, he says. Do you see? We are both men of many millions of faces. Blend with the light, drink this blessing from the goblet of your heart. I see a son cast love upon his mother. A mother cast her soul out into the air. Incense surrounds. And one can feel a Holy Ghost witness the placement of his hand upon her foot. No thing more beautiful than this has known the world since first light itself was born, I believe. This here is as light itself, a mother, a son, and spiraling spells barely known to their most intent casters. Ah, the bluest goddess stirs. She always stirs in blue. Here, grandmother's dress drinks me in like the vacuum of a teacup, and I, the pitcher, am pulled and made to fall in love once again. The sweet blueness calls the gold embroidery, a spiraling gilded stave relief. The pine skin calls the woodlands within me to bathe deeply in a wet earth, and to toss its loose gales behind me, head to noon earth, ego to won't dirt. Her saps so elapse, stick to me, combs of some amber resin. I belong here beside the gown of the blue goddess, the ropey black veil of sweet life within, calling us homeward once again. Blue goddess is my wife. Just making that clear. For my wife. You're the blue goddess. She'll never watch this.
Now there's a segue in the back alley, tripping over ladders and debris.
And in the back alley was a woman. Okay. This is about Eugene OBrien. I am one Michael Rose, Michael Timothy Rose. Eugene OBrien is my grandfather's brother, and he passed away several years ago. Eugene OBrien. I could not attend his funeral, but I did write a poem for him. Eugene OBrien. Noses inhale steams that rise from teacups. Mouths slosh around the dark liquors that give rise to the steams. At noon, I write odes for the imbibed. The world sea drinks and exhales us all at once. It sprays the shores of the living with jittery, dancing corpuscles of air. Mountains shrug at the spiraling dust that dance from human mouths like deltas. All the world meets here beside the breaths of the living and the bodies of the past. We do not carry the dead in our memories, really. We are all the fathers of our fathers. Our own physicality and wandering is the ancestor of an echo long ago. Birds pirouette from trees and spirals, branches bend to the moan of the wind. The moon waits for the sun to set and place her eyes upon the hallowed ground that welcomes all the buried. All of these shapes breathe in time and die in time. Time calls to us like a host. She herself knows that neither living nor dying ever was. Laughter is the crying of the wise, because the red clay whose nostrils rung with air and saw the eyes of God had perhaps heard the wind first and felt the hands of the universe around the waist of the figurine and the softness of the mind which called the earth to life like bright rain falling in a bright Irish grove at noontime. Words jump from matter and mind in search of truth. In honor of light, life bounds upon the land and speaks to the spirits of ghosts and bids them move on, stray, and be merry. Lantern lights linger in lilting leaves rustling in daylight and laughing at the circuitousness of lives coming and going and smiling upon the rest of us in the low and lulling fall light. Here in the earth, Eugene will warm the casket and hum tunes to the bugs. He will smile like he has always, and our memories will drink the warm shadows of the Irish grove from which once he had strove.
Very nice.
All right, this is a, yeah, sure, I'll read this. This is actually inspired by Macklemore, the rapper. I was sitting in a Starbucks and listening to him, and I wrote this. I was listening to the song Downtown. Good song. Downtown. Seattle rap lyrics bound inside my ears, ricochet on dewy wax ceilings and walls and hang like willow branches, calmly and without a sense of coiling heat. Despite the audiographic distractions, I write. Back keys to the rhythms of clacking bells and sweet cornmeal saxophones which dance beside the girls whose fingertips cling within the cafe. I'm going downtown out to the harp prints in the starlight of someone else's musical stream, which drip drops slow leaf buckets into lakes upon the lush soil of this tall mountain's sister mountain, gleaming there with the old grand gleaming sun. The crowds swim beside ships, push yellow currents backward upon the oceans that erupt, roaming skin with magnesium and cold. Angels' voices drift down from the humpbacked clouds, littering winged gospels like flakes of snow swimming to earth like wiggly minnow. Where to go from here, I ask. What further word should seek the page like the hungry camel seeks the eye of the needle? Into the light of the needle, I say. Somewhere, the centurion exclaims, beneath the shadow of the moral northwestern lights. And none of what I just read came from this wonderful tome called The Rattles and Other Poems. But it has some keepers in it.